Hello friends, my name is Yogesh Raje. I am working as a training and placement officer at IISMR Nigri College, Pune. Today we are going to discuss about interview and its various types. It is very important to understand what do you mean by interview and what are the different types of interviews. All of you has to appear for the placement process. So this interview is the one part of the placement process. So let us start with the interview term. What is interview? The term interview has been derived from the French word intervoir, that means to glimpses or to see each other. In other words, we can say it is a private meeting between people where questions are asked and the answers. Or it is a formal meeting at which somebody is asked the questions to see if they are suitable for a particular job or course of the study of a college or university. Now let us understand the meaning of the term interview. Basically, an interview is an conversation between two peoples, the interviewer and the interviewee, where the questions are asked by the interviewer to obtain the information from the interviewee. There are also job interviews in which a person has to go through in order to get the job he wants. The job interviews are usually face to face interviews and it includes the paperwork. During an interview, you can expect to be asked the questions about your educational background, previous work experiences, and the questions related to your personal characteristics and the goals. Now, let us understand the purpose of an interview. First purpose is to find out if the candidate has the right attitude and fits the requirement and the company culture. Second purpose may be to find a best candidate to fill a vacancy. Now this interview technique is having some advantages as well as the disadvantages. Let us discuss about the advantages first. It is deep and free response. From interview, we get flexibility and adaptability. It represents the glimpses into the respondent's tone and the gesture. Another advantage is that ability to probe, follow, clarify misunderstandings about the question. Now let us discuss about the disadvantages. It is costly in time and personal. It requires a skill. It is impractical with the large number of respondents. Now, what does an interviewer look for? He is looking for who you are as a person. What is your knowledge? What are your skills? What the attitude you have? Another is that your ability to interact with the people. What is your capacity to take work pressure? Now, let us discuss about the different types of the interviews. There is first type that is on the basis of classification according to the structure, classification according to the purpose. Third one, classification according to the interviews contained. Next one is classification according to the administrating the interview. Now let us discuss one by one in detail. The first case, that is classification according to the structure. It is also called as a direct interview. In this type of interview, the questions and acceptable responses are specified in advance. Responses are rated for appropriateness of the content, also called as in standardized interviews, as they are pre-planned to a high degree of accuracy and precision. Second one is unstructured interview, or it is also called as an indirect or open-ended interview. This type of interview is not having any set of format to be followed. Candidate is encouraged to express himself on any topic of his interest, his expectations, and the background. Interviewers look for traits of character and nature of his aspiration, strength, and weakness. Now, the third type is semi-structured. In the semi-structured interview, the specific topic areas are going to be given to the student. There are general set of questions, but the interview follows like conversation and the topics are covered as they come up. Now, another classification is of the interview is according to the purpose. So in that first one is stress interview. This type of interview is rare in the present job scenario. It was very common in interview method when selecting for the salesperson. Stress interview means they are going to be being asked more than one question at a time. Students being asked further questions without being allowed sufficient time to respond. The interviewers adopt a hostile behavior and deliberately puts the candidate on defensive by trying to annoy, embarrass, or frustrate him. He asks the questions rapidly, criticizes his or her answers, interrupts him or her frequently. Why the stress interviews? In this type of interview, it is an attempt to see how the candidate handle themselves under stress. So, the interviewer deliberately assumes a scarcity or argumentative position. For this type of interview, the trick is to remain calm under such a situations. Next is appraisal or assessment interview. The discussion following a performance appraisal in which the superior and the employee discuss the employee's rating and possible remedial actions to be taken. Next one is exit interview. When an employee leaves the company for any reason, an exit interview is conducted. The aim of this interview is getting the information about the job or related matters. It highlights the work of an HR manager. Now, classification according to the administrating interview. The first one is one-to-one interview. Single interviewer who takes an interview one by one, may be structured, unstructured, or sequential. It is easier to handle, generally more informal. Best way to handle such an interview is relate them as form of a conversation. Second is sequential or serial interview. These interviews are those in which applicant is interviewed sequentially by several interviewers. Each one rates an applicant on a standard evaluation form and these ratings are taken compared before hiring the decision this hiring decision is taken. Each interviewer rates from his or her own point of view and asks different questions and forms an independent opinion of the candidate. The next one is very common, that is called as a group interview or group discussion. The main purpose of the interest type of interview is to see how the interviewee interacts with the others and how he or she influences the other with his or her knowledge and the reason. This is also called as an GDs. In the GD, discussion topic is given to the group. Why this group interviews? It is for understanding or to discover any leadership potential, group participation, team playing skills, and the communication skills among the candidates. Panel interview or committee interview. The panel interview comprises more than two members interviewing a person for the hiring. It is most common mode of interview when hiring at a senior level. The interviewee should try to connect with each interviewer, and the best way is to do this to read the personality of each interviewer. In the panel interview, the interviewer tries to gauge the group management and the group presentation skills of the interviewer. The interviewee should maintain eye contact with the person asking the question, but also seek the eye contact with the other members of the panel. Now, classification according to the interview's content. Situational interview. Here, the interview will be focused on the individual's ability to project what his behavior will be in a given situation. The interview can be both structured and situational, with predetermined questions requiring the candidates to project at his behavior will be. Then, job related interviews. Here, the interview tries to deduce what the applicant's on the job performance would be based on his answers about his past behaviors. Job related questions are asked to draw the conclusion about the candidate's ability to handle the job to be filled. Third one is behavioral interview. Here a situation is described and the candidate are asked how they behave in the past in a situation. While in situational interviews, ask the candidate to describe how they can interact or react to the situation in future. The behavioral interviews seek the candidate to describe how did they react to the situation in the past also. Then psychological interview. The psychological interviews are the interviews conducted by the psychologist. In these questions, in which the questions are intended to assess the personal traits such as reliability or dependability of the person. Next one is telephonic interviews. The phone interviews are increasingly used in mass hirings. The interview is conducted entirely over the phone, and this is very effective in eliminating in any bias that may arise from the appearance and manner of the candidate. Some another interview types of promotional interviews, annual interviews, periodical interviews, computerized interviews, walk-in interviews, and video conferencing interviews. So I hope all of you got the sufficient knowledge about the what is interview and its different types. Thank you so much.